director and leader, Daniel Roby, grew up in this church. His mama is on our staff. I see his daddy over there. Just as proud as you are of him, I know the city of Dallas is equally as blessed by his leadership. And thanks, Mom and Dad.
茶艺是，还是谁担保？
他做一些赞助，在政府工作的人，在他的家人，是这个政府的妈妈。
And we had the privilege of taking it around to about maybe a dozen, 15, 16, 17 different film festivals. And it did very, very well, and it was fun, but it brought us into environments that we usually don't go to. And we ended up in Los Angeles. And when we were in LA, someone else made the arrangements for us, and we stayed in a hotel. And the hotel
从加州回来做一些帮别的教会做一些活动。
And I'd seen the original Comedy Store on television growing up. I'd seen many, many stand-up comedians do their work from the Comedy Store. And I thought, wow, it's right across the street. We should go. So sure enough, we were able to secure some tickets, and it was probably a little easier to secure tickets because it was newbie night. It was newbie night, what they call amateur night. And this is what they call open mic, where they just give the mic and you have 3 minutes. And what you have is kind of a lobby or a back area that is full of men and women of all ages that have come to Los Angeles and kind of given up everything they've got to sleep on a buddy's couch with no money and try to make it in comedy. So I was very excited just to see these young men and women do their craft. And immediately you could tell some of them were outstanding, just hilarious, and they got everybody hooked within 3 minutes. And everybody was laughing, and some of them were okay, and then some of them were just horrible. And I mean, they weren't funny, and those were the ones, I mean, as soon as they walked up there, there's something changes in your heart, and we call that empathy, and you can just kind of feel, you know, their pain. And this one guy, I don't know where he was from, but he'd kind of come out and laid it all on the line. And it took him about 45 seconds of his 3 minutes before he even started speaking because he was so nervous. And the whole room just started kind of vibrating, and you could just feel this wasn't going to go right. And then he started in on his jokes, and they just bombed, one after the other, not one shred of laughter. And I didn't know where it was going to go. But comedy audiences, it turns out, are merciless. And they knew where it was going to go, and they told him where they thought he should go. And they said, you know, get off the stage! And he wrapped up his set, his 3 minutes are over, he hadn't gotten one laugh, and he just walked off. And I could just feel his pain from rejection. And it's funny how the brain works, because I'm processing and empathizing with his rejection, and now I've just ignored all the other comics in the rest of the room, and I immediately was dispatched mentally to about the 4th or 5th grade. I don't know why. And I found myself in my head sitting in the playground at our version of St. Mark's in Shreveport, Louisiana. My mother had been divorced and got remarried, and we moved across town, and at that young age in elementary school, I had to switch schools. And I was the new guy myself. And I don't remember if it was the first day of school, the first week or whatever, but it was one of the first times we got together, and it was phys ed. They had uniforms, and my old school didn't have uniforms. We looked silly in those uniforms. And we decided that they were going to play a game called Red Rover. And Red Rover, you got to have 2 teams, and you know what more equitable way to pick the teams than to take the 2 bully athletes and have them select among their peers. And so I'm the new guy, and there's one guy over here, one guy over here. You know, they pick you. You come over here, and you go one at a time. And you're just sitting there going, you know, please pick me. Please pick me. I'm in the middle of the Comedy Store in Los Angeles thinking, please pick me. And I was the last one to get picked. I was the last one. And I was a little miffed because I thought I was on the Rushmore of the game back at my old school. Red Rover, I was pretty darn good. And they didn't ask me to be on their team until the last guy, and they had to. You come on over here, so I'm on the team. And then I'm the first one they call. They say, Red Rover, let the new guy, I don't even know my name, let the new guy come over. And Red Rover, you know, there's 2 lines of people, and you all link up arms, and then when they call your name, you run, and the idea is to break through their arms such that you dislocate their shoulders, and that's how the game is played. And I ran, and I picked the 2 big athletes. I thought, I'm going to show them who I am. I'm pretty good. They have underestimated my capacity as a Red Rover expert. And so I'm running, bam, and I hit him. And I'm telling you, the arm did not break, the chain did not break, and it was like a rubber band. They boom, and then they slung me back onto the field, and I tumbled, and I was just sitting there in abject terror because it was like the first week of school. And I remember feeling so awful and so incredibly rejected. And that's what I thought about while this comic is walking off in his rejection. And I remember thinking, God, why is that scar so deep? Why does rejection last 50 some odd years for something so simple? And so what I want to do today is I want to talk about how we overcome rejection. Because I think it's pretty important. And my hunch is here that everyone in this room has experienced in some form or fashion the pain of rejection. Right? You applied to a college and you were a good student and you got the test scores right, and they didn't send you that big packet with a t-shirt, did they? No, they sent that little tiny razor thin letter, and you opened it up and it just said no thanks. Right? And it hurt. It hurt, and you thought, well, there are no other colleges out there because the one I wanted to go to didn't let me in. I was walking over here this past week, and man, there were some girls sitting on some steps of a building, and they were surrounding this one girl, and she was just bawling. I mean, crying. I didn't even have to go up and ask her. I knew what the deal was. It was sorority rush week, and I could feel it. I could feel it. She had been through the whole system, and she didn't get a bid. I mean, we've all been there. And you showed up to work, somebody called you and said, you got to go see the boss. And you sit down and they say, well, today's going to be your last day.